if I want to accomplish all my goals, then I need to make sure that my inputs are tied as closely as humanly possible to the outcome. If I want to be satisfied, it doesn't matter at all. And so I think it's marrying those two ideas where the perfect world, in my opinion, would be you work as hard as you possibly can because you thought ahead of time, what is the input that has the closest correlation with the outcome that I want? And then you put your blinders on and you start digging. There's this line that I heard David Goggins say on Rogan, and I can't remember who he was saying it to or what he said in response to, but he just said, "I'm David Goggins." And I remember him saying it, and I thought to myself, like, you want to be able to say that in the mirror to yourself and not laugh at yourself. Mm-hmm. And the only way that I can do that is know that when no one's watching, I work harder than when they're watching. And thinking about it like that has given me this persistent and ever-present scorecard or third party that's like, no one's watching, which means now you have to work because otherwise you're full of. And so it's this continuous reinforcing cycle of the me and other me holding the whip behind me to see how much I can take. But with each lash of the whip that I take, learning that I can take it and continue to trudge on. And so as long as you keep going, you bear witness to yourself of what you are capable of. And I find that incredibly satisfying in the trenches of misery when you have to go through it. So the simplest way of attracting somebody to your business when you don't know how to do the job or know who to look for is to unfortunately do the job yourself. And then once you can break down the job, we follow 3 Ds, which is document, demonstrate, duplicate. That's how we train anybody. So first, you have to document everything that you do to successfully do the job. And that's step-by-step into a checklist. Then you demonstrate. So you do this checklist in front of the person that you're trying to bring on. Then they duplicate, they do the checklist in front of you. What's interesting about that 3-step process is that you'll often find when you try to demonstrate following the checklist, you don't follow your checklist. And so then you have to adjust the checklist until you actually follow the checklist. And then when you can consistently follow that checklist and get the output, then you can have them do that checklist. And so I think this is why bootstrap founders, I think oftentimes will find they tend to know more about more things because they had to learn them in order to teach them. Now, what's really interesting about what you said about accidentally finding that star at 3 or 4 years in is that I think that happens to almost everyone. Well, hopefully it happens. The people who end up making it, it happens to almost everyone. Because then you realize, oh my God, like if I had 4 of these people, like we could change the world. So as you go up in the organization with hires, the risk and reward goes up. And so that's something that a lot of people don't like talking about, but I will, which is if you hire somebody and let's say that they're not a cultural fit, maybe they have the skills, or they are a cultural fit and they don't have the skill fit, and they're a leader, what you find often, and it sucks, is that everyone, it's almost like, it's like a tree that has an entirely rotten branch. It's like you end up having to scoop out 3/4 of what was underneath because you realize that they were ineffective or they just were against the actual mission of the business. And it's harrowing and it's horrible. But I try to give this analogy to my team because we've had to do it in every business. It happens, it's just part of business, is if somebody goes to the bar and you're at the club and somebody racks up, just ordering shots for everybody, shots, and then that guy dips. That guy leaves. We all have to pay the bill. In the moment, when we pay the bill, when we scoop out the dead wood, when we scoop out the rot from the organization, it feels horrible. But that pain isn't because the scooping out the rot is bad. It's because we planted it on bad ground, or because that guy ordered all these shots but couldn't afford it. And I have a different analogy because I really want to drive this home because I think it's important, is that in the relationship world, if one spouse tells the other spouse, hey, I cheated on you, I had an affair, that moment is incredibly painful for both parties. And so what it makes you think is, oh, this was wrong to tell the truth. But it's not wrong to tell the truth. What's wrong was cheating. When you tell the truth is when you make it right. And so the pain that you often have to encounter in the organization feels wrong, but is right because you're righting a wrong, and that's where the pain occurs. And that's why so many businesses stay stuck, is because they have this affair, they have this person, and they're unwilling to have that hard conversation or multiple in order to make it right, and they stay stuck for years. No one wants to discuss is the fact that everyone else knows John sucks.
Amen.
And that becomes the minimum standard for what is acceptable for excellence in the organization. And so I think, so if brand is what your reputation is externally, I think culture is kind of what reputation is internally. And so I define culture, operationalize, because I think culture is a very fluffy word. What does that mean, right? It's the rules that govern reinforcement within an organization. What do we reward? What do we punish? And so the thing is that there's people have values because they're bundled terms that ladder up many behaviors. If I said Rolls-Royce probably would have some value that's quality over speed, probably, right? And so they would have that, but somebody would have to say well, what does that mean, right? Well, we hope that we use this as a decision-making filter for how it affects behaviors on every situation, so that when you're in the should I go fast or should I make it right, you make it right. And there are other organizations, kind of like the speed, justice and mercy, speed and quality. Both of them are important, and sometimes they sit diametrically opposed. And so we have to say, where do we sit in the gray so that we can duplicate decision-making across the organization, so that we can maintain the culture. And so, Layla says this a lot, but culture, I think this is a Drucker quote actually, culture trumps strategy like twice a week and every day on Sunday. Mm-hmm. If you have a mediocre strategy but an unbelievable culture, you will crush somebody who has a great strategy and a terrible culture. Nice. Because culture ladders up to performance and execution, and almost every business is limited by execution, not strategy. Most business strategy isn't that complicated. Let's do a really good job, so good that people tell their friends about us, and as long as we have enough gross margin, we'll make money. It's not that hard, right? It's just that the doing it is the hard part. And so when we have these, they are the spoken and unspoken rules, mostly unspoken. If someone shows up 3 minutes late to a meeting and there's 10 people in the meeting and it's supposed to be a marketing meeting and I'm there, if I don't say anything, I have now said, we have an unspoken rule that if someone shows up 3 minutes late to a meeting, it's okay. I've reinforced that rule. Now, if I've reinforced it by not punishing the behavior, or at least calling it out. On the flip side, if someone comes in and I berate them, that's also a way of changing behavior, maybe not the right way to do it. But I could then, what do you do in that situation? Someone shows up 3 minutes late. First off, you would probably sideline with that person and be like, hey, I don't know if you realize that you were 3 minutes late. What happened? And they're like, I was on a client call. It went late. I'm really sorry. Or I was on a sales call. For me in my organization, clients and sales will take priority. So if you have a meeting and you're on a sale and you're about to close it, close the sale, right? But if you were just doing nothing and we have this meeting, then this is the priority. And so the next time we hop on, I'll be like, hey guys, I just want to address something. John was late. He was late because of a sales call. Or when I DM'd him right as he got on late, I would say, hey, make sure you say that. And then be like, hey guys, sorry I was late. I was on a sales call. And then I would say, that's fine. You're good to go. Always go make money. And then I'm reinforcing the right thing. Right. And so I think we're very big on rapid feedback in the moment, because that's how you train behavior. So if you look at, there's tons of studies on this, but basically if you want to train a dog and you want it to sit, if you have it sit and then immediately give a biscuit, it learns really quickly. If you have it sit and then wait 10 seconds before you give a biscuit, it takes 3 times as many repetitions for it to learn that the sitting gets the biscuit. If you wait more than a minute, it never learns.
Really?
You can see the learning curve, the amount of repetitions just skyrockets until eventually there is no amount. But here's where it gets crazy. That biscuit is still reinforcing something, just not sitting. It's reinforcing the thing that just came before it. So if we want people to do something, we have to change it in the moment.
So I think what we're teasing at is authenticity. And so a lot of people feel like imposters because what they think, what they say, and what they do are completely different. But from an operational perspective, because that's how I like to define a lot of words, which is what do I have to do to be that, right? What do I have to do to be authentic? And you can describe someone as authentic by saying, how would you behave if there was no possibility of punishment? And so if you could not be punished at all, that behavior is who you are authentically. And so, in my opinion, our degrees of freedom are predicated on how much, to what extent we act as though we could not be punished. And so if what we want to do and what we do
have no possibility of punishment. That is what we are when we are our true selves. I think the hardest jump is actually doing and saying what you think. When someone's like, hey, what do you think about this? And you're like, I wasn't paying attention at all. It's like, oh, wow, okay. And so then you basically become, because I think if personal truth of not lying to, if you start by not lying to yourself, and then you start saying those things, then you start not lying to other people. And I think if you can decrease the friction between what you really think and what you say, it starts to create some virtuous cycle outside of you that starts to orient your behavior so that you actually start doing what you really think. And I have integrity, but in the truest sense is one of my personal kind of goals. It's jarring to people when you're just honest, and like really honest. Like, hey, do you want to go to this, to Sarah's birthday party? No. And they're like, what do you mean? You busy? They're like, no, I'm not busy, but I don't want to go. People have a hard time just saying no to things. And I would encourage you, if you're listening to this, like, try saying no to, try actually telling the truth when you don't want to do something. Because we have so many social niceties that we say, oh, I'm really busy, or it's a really bad time right now, or whatever. I had somebody the other day, I was with a friend, and I didn't notice that I did this. So sometimes it's nice to have somebody from the outside. And so somebody came up to me, we were looking at a real estate property, and someone knew I was going to be there and said, that guy showed up unannounced or whatever. And he was like, hey man, can we do a podcast? And I was like, I'm just in town, going to hang out with Layla for the next few days. Like, not really trying to do that. And he asked again, and he was like, hey, maybe like 20 minutes. Let's we can just rock one out. And I was like, well, let me show you my calendar. And I pulled up my calendar, and it was all empty. And I said, see, there's nothing on there. And I was like, and I just want to keep it that way. And I didn't think anything of it, but apparently he left. And then my friend just starts crying, laughing, just thinking how hilarious. He's like, I can't believe you said that. That was so boss, blah, blah. And I was like, what is he talking about? He's like, you just showed him your calendar that you had nothing, and you were still like, you're still not going to get any of my time. And I didn't perceive any of this extra narrative that he added to it. But I think just being able to say no to stuff when people ask you for it, because people ask you for stuff all the time. And it's these little nibs, these little tiny things. Hey, can you do this? Or hey, can we show up to this thing? Or hey, you're supposed to. Or hey, your aunt did that one thing for you, so therefore you owe her. And saying like, I don't subject myself to those rules. And I had a New Year's resolution, which I do believe in making resolutions. Like, why not? If you stick with them. And so one of my more recent ones was, there are no such thing as social obligations, only consequences. So you have no social obligations, you have social consequences, but you don't have social obligations. And so you have to go. I don't have to go. If I don't go, what will happen as a result? It decreases the likelihood they will invite me again, which is great, because then I won't have to say no again. So this actually saves me time in the future. And so a lot of people don't play out the like, what happens if? It's like, oh, more of the thing that I would prefer, which is not getting invited to these stupid weddings, or not getting invited to these, Christs or whatever they're called, whatever the thing is. You probably know what the word I'm trying to say.
I do what you're talking.
Yeah. If you say no and are honest about why you said no, people will be jarred. But then you get this muscle, when we're talking about that muscle of being authentic, which is just saying what you really think. And I think that when you do that, you unlock a certain level of confidence in yourself. We were like, oh, I didn't die. Oh, actually what I would prefer to have happened as a result of that. Oh, you know what? It's Friday night, and I am going to get a good night's sleep because I do have a clear day tomorrow, and I'm going to work my face off, and I didn't have to go to Sarah's thing. And to me, that's like, over time, I think I just do more and more and more of that, and it feels better and better and better.